Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Patty G Show. We are not having a Botox party, but we're talking about those that throw them. That's right, we've got Shelly in from the Williamson Cosmetic Center talking all things injectables, talking all things with lifting, and also just straight up words of wise wisdom to live by. All of that coming your way in the Velocity Partners Group studio. Stay tuned for a great show. Wonderful thanks, shout out to those amazing partners in the community that bring you this each and every week. Valaya Real Estate, Lakeman's Health Center, and PB&J Productions. Enjoy. Who are you and why are you in the chair?
Okay. Well, Shelly Williamson Esnard. I believe I'm in this chair just because, obviously working here in Baton Rouge for 25 years. I've been with our practice. And honestly, it was a practice that spawned out of our family business, Williamson Eye Center, which started actually probably over 100 years ago with my grandfather.
100?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, I think so. We have to probably double check the data on that. But no, I believe so. He was an optometrist. God, let me think about it.
Jay, go ahead and Google when a Williamson Eye Center gets started.
Google
we can get some
Wild
facts
Bill
here.
from Pleasant Hill. Never worked and never will.
Bill from Pleasant Hill.
That's what they used to call him. But no, he was an optometrist. But no, I guess he would have been maybe 75 years ago, something like that. Anyway,
either way, very long time.
Long story short.
And now we're on third generation.
Yes, actually,
Or you have,
third generation. We
your
don't have
kid
anyone just
generation,
yet, but they're all in school. But no, so he was an optometrist. He had 4 boys. All 4 of them went into ophthalmology. 3 are physicians. One's a PA, which is who I followed going to PA school for. Back then, this was the late 90s. I was in PA school, and my dad said, "Hey, look, there's this thing called Botox. It's going to be a big deal. You're a girl, and you might want to have kids one day, so we need to find you a job that actually you can kind of do both. Trust me, you don't want to do traditional medicine. The payers aren't going to pay as well later in life. It's going to be harder to be a physician, so you need to go to PA school like your Uncle Brett did. He has a wonderful job flexibility and just, all in all, balance of lifestyle and work. And with this thing called Botox, it's going to help with wrinkles and, with lasers. They're not going to go have waxing and electrolysis anymore. They're going to do laser hair removal." So that was in 1999. 99. So that's when I went and did my training. And I actually was trained by Dr. Jean Carruthers, who was the founding godmother of Botox Cosmetic, as we know it today.
Really?
Truly, yes. Super neat story with her. She and her husband are Canadian physicians. He's passed away since, but he was a dermatologist, and Dr. Female Carruthers was an ophthalmologist, and she was treating for blepharospasms, which is when the eye kind of starts to wink too much. Well, the ophthalmologist would use Botox, or they would just call it onabotulinum toxin.
What?
They would use that to stop the muscle from moving. Well, what she noticed is her patients were like, "Look, the side that I've been treating, there's no wrinkles. Now the side that I don't treat, because I don't have that problem on that side, it has wrinkles. Can we start treating that side?" And that is what's launched Botox as we know it to this day.
Very cool.
I know. And I went to her training.
So it is 75th anniversary.
Oh, okay, 75 years.
So still extremely impressive. And
it really
on
is.
like having a third generation business is huge.
Yep.
Because it's made it through all that, and almost, it sounds like it's your family almost not necessarily pushes you in that direction, but it seems like you've got great leaders that have led the next generation to say this is a viable path, right?
For sure. My dad is very visionary. He really, he's always been that way. So when he first started, he developed his own surgery center because he was like, why are we going to go pay for someone else to have their surgery center?
Yeah.
And then when my brothers and uncles came into the practice, they really diversified not only the ophthalmic side of it and the ophthalmic surgical side of it, that's when they kind of branched out into the aesthetics portion of it. And so I think they have a lot of practices. There's like ophthalmology practices that still want to have like a aesthetic side or an aesthetic arm to their ophthalmology practice, but they find it more difficult. And so where we've pivoted was in 2005, unfortunately with Hurricane Katrina. That prior to that time I was talking to my dad. I said, look, lasers and injectables are all great, but I keep referring out all of this surgery because we're talking about these things. And he was like, okay, well, let's look for a surgeon. And truly, he was on an airplane with Dr. Grady Hornsby going to the LSU Tennessee game. And Grady goes, Chuck, how's Shelly doing with that Botox thing of hers, that med spa? And he goes, man, she's doing good, but she really needs a doctor. And he goes, there was this kid from New Orleans. They got displaced after Katrina. He's awesome. I mean, great guy. And that was Dr. Paranak. And so kind
Absolutely.
of that next layer of, okay, where do we go now? Because between 99 to 2005, we did the traditional kind of med spa. We incorporated eyelid surgery and a few things that kind of kept true to the eye practice. But it really wasn't until then that we were able to bring his expertise, and he partnered in, and we kind of left the physical location with them and branched out to Williamson Cosmetic Center and Paranak Aesthetic Surgery, kind of separate as we know it today.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here.
One unit, but yet separate practices.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what made you want to go the PA route over the, I guess, the traditional route of your family?
Yeah, kind of like a non-physician
Yeah.
medical provider, if you will.
Right.
Honestly, when I was that age, I was freshman at LSU, and the PA program as we know it really was non-existent in Louisiana. I think my uncle was the first or second, maybe graduating class of it. So I might have been the fourth or so. So there really wasn't much information. I just kind of took the leap and followed him. And he was like, look, it's going to be great. It's going to be a big profession in the United States. There's going to be a shortage of family, practitioners. There's going to be a shortage of healthcare, especially in the rural areas. So you'll always have a job. Even if this whole med spa thing that y'all are doing doesn't work out, you'll be able to work in any sort of practice. And that's what's lovely about being a PA is you really can. So honestly, I really just kind of followed suit and went with it. I don't know if that was a good thing.
You followed the direction and it's paid off.
I did, yes.
So what was it like getting that practice up and running and up and going?
It was hard work. And, I remember, and I talk with my colleague Dion as we talk about marketing things and, search engine optimization, all the words. So I remember having a day-long meeting with the Yellow Pages.
No.
To determine if I was going to put laser tattoo removal on, and do an ad, or if I was going to do, should we write Botox, because that was still taboo back then. And so the things have changed so much just from a marketing perspective and getting yourself out there. We didn't have a website. So we had a paper calendar. And I remember someone saying, one day you probably need to get a website. I'm like, oh, what is that? This is going to be great. We had no ways to gather demographics. So I hit every bridal show, every women's expo. I sponsored every single thing that came through the mail in the pamphlets that they sent you back then.
So were you going to these shows?
I was physically going.
And in a booth?
In a booth. I set up a table. I had all these things that I had to crank up. My husband would tell you I was gone every weekend, going around
to trade
Louisiana.
shows, essentially.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I would gather all the little, things. I would go back, and then we'd handwrite thank you notes and try to put it into a spreadsheet somehow or another. And, I think we went to Kinko's to print the labels. I don't even know if we had a printer. It was different.
You made it happen.
Yes,
though.
I made it happen.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so then, over the course of that evolution, were you going out and building this big giant building to house it all? Were you sharing a space? What was the day one?
The day
kind of
one
boots look like?
So when I started day one, they were losing $300,000 a year. And so my goal year one was to break even. And I started in August of 2001. And so that was my only goal, is to lean up, and that's what I did. And then from that point, it was just kind of stabilize what's going to work, what's not going to work. And it was probably, I remember having like my 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year plan. And I even had like a 20-year plan. And at 20 years, I was like, ooh, golly, what if we were making $20 million a year? You just think that's so far away and unattainable as a kid. But so the 3-year plan was just, okay, let's get into a little bit of a bigger space. So we were at the bottom of Women's Hospital. Mm-hmm. We had about, 500 square feet, 600 square feet there. And we moved. My brother and dad had built next door to the eye center a small little space. So we had like 4 treatment rooms, but that was going to allow Dr. Perinack to utilize their surgery center. So we talked, like, that's going to be perfect. We'll rent that space from them, and he'll use their surgery center when they're closed. And so he was going back and forth to New Orleans, kind of doing both things. And it was just, let's make this work. Until one day it didn't. It forced us. So he and I had looked at buildings because we're property partners together too, and everything was just so expensive. And it was like, man, are we ready for that? This business is still so small. We're young in it. We're at that point. It was 5 years, maybe 2010, 2011, 12, something like that. And so one day he had a facelift patient who was kind of trying to find a parking spot. Walking through, the eye center was crazy busy. We were busy, and he looked at me. He's like, "We got to get out of here, whatever it takes." And so then that's when we actually moved to our larger location on Jefferson Highway, which was great. I think that was 2013. And then from that point, it was just, here we are now. Yeah. How do you pay for everything? How does it all work? And how do you make it a profitable business?
So how did you go from that, like trying to figure out how do we make it profitable? How do we grow it to now being in the 0.1% of the nation, right? That's a big leap.
It is. It's called being available, and you work from 8 to 5, and your last customer is your most important customer. So I always tell people, if they think they're going to get into the aesthetics world and work a couple days a week and get to those levels, which there's probably other people who are super busier than I am, but you can't do it a couple days a week. You really just have to be available. And, if you're closed often, then you're probably not going to have a whole lot of customers. So that is the simple truth.
Yeah. And so how do you balance the house life, the family life, with then having this booming practice?
Always, I hate to say it this way, but probably the first 10, 12 years, business was always first. And what was really nice is my mom was available to me. Now, my other siblings had children later than I did, so I got like all those years to myself. So I never had to worry about it. I could leave early at 7-ish and come home at 5-ish, and that was great. And then now, my husband has flexibility. He can work from home or there, but now our kids are already in college, so I still have one at home. So she can't stay by herself too much. But really, it was just family. And, my mom kind of helped wherever I needed it. And I just, but also my work is kind of family as well.
Yeah. Because are you able to also travel around and go to people's places of work, or do they have to come in to see you?
I prefer them to come see me. I like having a business location. You can do home health visits, and some people call them Botox parties and things like that. I just never felt like it was the best use of time, and I always thought that it would be better for clients to have a more holistic visit, because there's other things people are concerned about. It's not just lines or wrinkles, but we could actually kind of put together a better plan in a separate environment, which more clinically. Yeah. Personally.
So walk us through the steps of that plan. You have somebody come in thinking they just want to get rid of wrinkles or have a little bit of an injection, and then something else happens.
Right. Usually they walk in nervous, especially if it's their first visit. And so there's always a level of someone making the call, or now, texting for the appointment, or now going online. They can just book the appointment. But once they get in, it's really getting them into the chair, making them feel comfortable. And if they do have any sort of, I had someone today, she was like, I'm really nervous. I said, tell me why. What are you scared of? She's like, how it's going to look after. So it's like sometimes we'll try to address the how it's going to be after first and just get that off the table. But really it's, show them a mirror and say, what can I do for you? Everyone is there to do something, and they just might not even know what they're asking for, but in the mirror they can point out what is bothering them. And, I usually start top, bottom, out to end, because that's how it always kind of goes anyway. And give them usually a basic plan, kind of a good, better, best. And a lot of times it incorporates my colleagues at the office where it's something that I don't do, but I know that the patient needs it. Or if we're kind of looking into a certain budget, or a wedding is coming up and they're like, okay, here's everything I need to do. How do I time it out? I'm like, all right, well, let's make the most use of our money. Let's get these things done first. But that doesn't involve me. That involves, so-and-so, this laser technician. And so they might kind of work down their plan of action with someone else first, and then they might get back to me later.
Gotcha. And on the wedding front, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so the brides are thinking they may need something before the wedding. Is there a certain timeline or a certain window they've got to hit?
Sure.
For when they got to make a decision to have a type of procedure or something?
So with the brides, it's a little more simple because they are chronologically younger, I guess. Maybe if it's a second wedding later in life, they're already kind of doing things. But with the brides, yes, I would say at least 6 to 8 weeks ahead of the wedding. So if we need some course correction or we need to pivot on something, we've got time before the wedding day. But it's the mother of the brides that I think is the most important timeline. And now even the fathers of the brides, and of course the mothers of the groom, but the fathers are kind of coming in too and go, I want to look my best too. So it's been interesting that we've kind of timed out, husband, wife plan of action. But with them, we need to start. I would love to start a year ahead.
Okay, year ahead.
A year ahead. Doesn't have to be, but it would be nice.
So some of the mother of the brides are looking at their daughters and they're saying, "Well, I'm just going to keep doing it every year until you make up your mind."
Yeah, they could do that. Yeah.
So how has the messaging shifted, or has it shifted? Right. So you mentioned the fathers of the bride. Right. Mm-hmm. That's generally maybe not the immediate audience you're appealing to. Right. How has the message shifted, or what has the demand been over the last few years? Has there been a shift?
There has been a shift. There's a lot of companies that market, I think, better directly to men, but in the aesthetics field and also the cosmetic surgery field, it always works better coming from either a female friend who uses a certain practice or maybe their, girlfriend or wife. So I feel like that's how the guys kind of get to us a little bit easier. But what's so lovely about our male clientele, I think when we were trying to figure out years ago what was that percentage, it might have been like maybe 5% of the total. It's now creeping up easily to 20 to 25%.
Oh my
Pretty
gosh,
easy.
so
I know.
4 or 5x.
Yes, and the guys, once they're here, they don't want to go anywhere else. They're like, look, I know that I can text you. I know it's a 10-minute visit. I don't, I can rearrange my, the schedule. They really like the comfort of knowing the practice that they're working with. Where sometimes I think with us, just myself included, I might try a different, nail salon or, just because someone went and had a great experience. So people, sometimes we just get much more information from our friends, and we might more likely try others. But people tend to always venture back if you treat them well and give them good results.
So when the first outreach from the male side of the population for you said you're up to 20-25%. So that's whatever you're doing is reaching them some kind of way. What are they coming in, and is their experience different or the same?
They typically tend to have one area of concern. They don't really care about all the other stuff. They don't need a whole laundry list of things that they could do. It's either laser hair removal. I don't like this tattoo. Cool sculpting has been great for that, because they're like, I'm not into surgery, but look, if you can make that better, I saw it online, or a wrinkle, and that's it. Now, I think on the surgical side of it, though, especially a lot of the men who, maybe high-level executive C-suite kind of guys who are still in it maybe another 10, 15 years, and they're already late 50s, They don't like their hooded eyes. They don't like the bags under their eyes. They don't like the turkey neck. They have real specifics, and it has nothing to really do with what they care about. It. They want to look their best because they are in this kind of high executive network of people. So that's been kind of neat. I just think with people working longer and living longer, and then now with all the wellness associated with it, people kind of care.
Yeah, like they want to continue living longer, but still looking like they're not living longer.
Yeah.
I love that.
Hi, this is Ned Fasulo, founder of Velocity Partners Group, and this is the VPG Marketing Minute. Today, we're going to continue to talk about the entire world of AI and its impact on the marketing and sales segment of business, and we're going to focus in right now on one of my favorite AI platforms that I'm heavily vested in that runs a lot of the different parts and pieces of our company, and that is Google Gemini. From the angle of proposals, which is one of the things that consultants, marketing and sales professionals, and companies in general are always wrangling with, is how to put together the perfect proposal. With the right AI engine behind you, tuned up perfectly, you can easily produce anything at scale in the world of a proposal and reference statistical data, map data, financial data, all in one place. We like Gemini because Gemini sits on top of basically all of the information in Google. And using Gemini at its top level plan, you are able to leverage the entire resource of the Google Index at your fingertips when building something. So we routinely create a multi-page prompt for a client proposal and insert into Gemini and watch the magic happen. And we've seen incredible success with this in terms of the value of the document that comes out. A second great piece to Google Gemini with regard to proposals is its ability to take all of the marketing and sales tactics that you intend to employ for your clients and, along with a requested budget, be able to produce the financial investment in whatever it is that you are selling. In our world, that is sales, marketing, consulting time. In your world, it could be machine parts. It could be medical sales equipment. It doesn't really matter. If you give the right amount of information, Gemini can produce. And that's today's Marketing Minute from Velocity Partners Group. For more information, check us out at www.velocitypartnersgroup.com.
So you've got this TAP into evidence based best practices, the TAP. All right, so
it's an
talk
acronym.
To us about that.
Yeah, it's an acronym for the aesthetic platform.
Okay.
And many years ago, I had a girlfriend who was in the sales world of injectables, and she was like, "Look, I have so many people," and this was before the companies actually had platformed their own training set, so to speak. So now, I mean, you could hire me to come in and train you, but you could also, the companies will actually have complimentary training if you purchase products from them. And they're all great trainers too. But this was prior to that, she kept getting requests of, hey, who do you know that I can go train? Who do you know that I can go shadow? And she said, why don't we do something like this? And so when we met, we since dissolved that company side of it. She's moved away and moved on in life and to Texas. But I kept it on board under Williamson Cosmetic Center because it gave me an ability to, when I love to educate. I like to train students. I want them to come in because if you don't learn, then you won't know. But I had to figure out a way to make sure my time was, covered a little bit. If I needed to leave the practice for 4 hours because I wanted and needed to maybe go train someone, that it was somewhat monetized, in a way. So that's really kind of how that platform was developed. Just for a way to go for people who are interested in to have some sort of nominal fee to say, look, I want Shelly to train me. I want to do what she's doing. And so that's kind of where it came from.
Got it. And so what is the platform? If they go on there, what can they expect to see? Kind of, if I'm looking to be trained, what do I need to do? What do I need to know?
So if you were a practitioner and you said, look, I've been doing this for 2 or 3 years, you could go onto the site and there's advanced training options. You just pick it, click it, and pay for it, and then we schedule the time to do it. Or you can bring us into your practice. I had someone, and this was a super fun onboarding. several years ago, she texted and said, I'm trying to click everything, but your shopping cart won't let me buy it all. And I said, well, wait, tell me what is it that you need or what? And so once we kind of unpacked everything that she was doing, she was actually transitioning from traditional medicine and wanted to open up a med spa. Okay. Essentially, she wanted to open up exactly what we had minus the surgery side. And I said, we can do that for you. We'll stick a Williamson Cosmetics Center there for you in Oklahoma. So that's exactly what we did. And that was a little outside our normal footprint. Normally we have an injector, they come in, or I go there or whatnot. So our team, we get together, it's like, guys, guess what we're going to do? We're going to do this. And everyone's like, what? What are we going to do? It's like, we got it. We've got the knowledge. Mm-hmm. So, and we did. We were able to put all the SOPs together. We kind of had everything segregated to where we met with her different groups, set up their training, went on site into Oklahoma, and she's got a thriving business now in Oklahoma City. So it was awesome. So it was fun.
You almost like franchised
a
little bit with the brand.
I know. If we had time, I'd love to do more of those. It was really fun and very satisfying, I think, for all of us. So like our marketing director and team helped set up all of their events, and they did like 3 days in a row of events. Then our manager at the time was helping the front desk kind of with all of their call sheets and, credentialing the practice and the provide. So all of us had our own little part in it. And, obviously the practice we were, taken care of. But it was also nice to see them like be successful, and we kind of did get to go back home in a way. I didn't have to stay on board, and the day-to-day stuff of running a business is always hard.
Yeah, you're able to go back and handle your own practice. So like have the inbounds for doing that increased over time? Of like, do you have a waiting list, so to speak, of people wanting that?
No, I wish. And we talk about that every day. It's, do I want to expand that side of the practice? Do we want to do it? It took a lot of work. It was about a 6-month lead time. It was a 5-day on site. That would be hard to do over and over and over again with what I'm currently, because I practice full time Monday through Fridays. And so I don't know where the breaking point, like where do you cut off? I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, but it has to be fully hands-on. It can't be something I would just do on a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got your reputation on the line, right? I mean, especially if you're going to put a Williamson sticker on there, like you've got to make sure that they're going to have the same standards. Right. So did you like develop any check-in or follow-through procedures? I'm sure you'll have lots of communication back and forth.
Yeah, she and I actually talked last week too. They had a record year. No, we did. The first, there was basically weekly check-ins, monthly, and that took us about 24 months, was part of our deliverable. I think we had a year or two afterwards that they had full access. Like if something was going wrong, what do we need help with? But they did great. They just took it and ran with it. So, but we kind of did that on our own, with Lake Charles, which is a third location of ours. So that was one that kind of we talked about, met with the group, and we actually just ended up buying them out and actually making it a Williamson Cosmetics Center. So that served us better rather than trying to just put something in there. And Lake Charles has been an awesome location. The community is really robust. I mean, they've come back from multiple kind of disasters in a way, but they're growing. And so that was kind of fun. So we got to do it for ourselves. And that was location 3.
So how is it now? I mean, you're running a multi-location enterprise at this point. How do you work? How do you juggle that?
The distance makes it hard in Louisiana because especially with the 2, bridges, so to speak. I mean, it's hard to get all the way from Gonzales to Lake Charles. It is. So definitely incorporating virtual opportunities to get the teams together. My management team really makes the trek, if not weekly. I mean, it's every 10, 12 business days pretty easily. So that has been a little more challenging. I just wish we were, a little closer together. So, but it's all great.
So it sounds like you need another location in between.
We
had stop on
that.
The way.
We did do a Lafayette location, and this was an interesting story because that was not part of my plan to scale at all. the Lake Charles location kind of fell into that normal scaling for such a small business that we were. But Lafayette came about after Hurricane Laura.
Mm-hmm.
Hurricane Laura took out the practice that we just built essentially in Lake Charles. That team basically was moving and setting up their children in Lafayette for school. So I said, well, maybe let's have a spot. And so we got this little small, cute little space in River Ranch. I mean, it was like 3 rooms or whatnot. But what was wild about Lake Charles is as soon as we had this space ready, up and going, which was pretty quickly, Lake Charles customers were ready to come back. I mean, they were getting texts and they said, Shelly, we think we can reopen. We have water now. We've got electricity. I said, where? Okay. And so we kept the Lafayette and kind of tested it for the better part of, I don't know, about 24 months, something like that. And when we really looked at it, it was just too hard to kind of have that fourth one that was just kind of a standalone. And that was a pretty competitive market too. So as a company, we kind of looked back at the numbers and said, look, this is our best is the 3, Gonzales, Baton Rouge, and Lake Charles. So we closed that location, which I felt really, I felt good about that. So none in between. not I wouldn't say never, but pretty close to it.
So earlier you kind of mentioned you had your 3-year plan, your 10-year plan, your 20-year plan.
Yes.
I'm assuming we've hit the 20 years.
Yes.
What does the plan look like versus reality?
So it's interesting because I feel like I've spent my entire first 25 years of my career working into a career, and now the back half I'm going to spend 25 years working myself out of a job. Like it's the oddest feeling that but I also feel good where we are. We had talked about in the intro, kind of best advice someone told me years ago, bigger's not better. And I think I kind of learned that over the last handful of years, that, if you have a really happy team, you've got a really thriving business and your clients are just coming back over and over again with great reviews, that is perfect. There is no reason for me personally to try to do more than that. So I want to continue to do what I'm doing, nourish my business, make it the best that it can be. And at some point, as we get older, to kind of level up and have some of these younger people want to come be a part of it. And to me, that's kind of where it's going. Now, I'll never retire. I will never.
Why do you say that?
I really love what I do. I mean, I would truly do it for free if it afforded me to. Like, I enjoy it. I look forward to having more people interested in it and, being a part of it. But at some point, I mean, I don't want to be on a totally fixed income. You know what I mean? You always want to have some play money. You don't want to retire.
Of course. Well, you also don't want to be you're so in a stage of life where they're like wheeling you in to do everything.
It'll be one of those. I'll be 82 and I'm like, I can only do 4 Botox treatments a day.
Yeah.
That's all my hands allow.
Welcome to the brand new Falaya mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Falaya mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Falaya in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Falaya, it's real estate reimagined.
So you've talked about Botox, but there's other varieties of it, right? Or varieties of the same solution, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know, educate me a little bit on that.
So the neuromodulator world is very large globally. Allergan, the maker of Botox, is probably the number one global leader of it. And we say Botox, I mean, I am probably 90% user of Botox for my practice, personally. But there are Dysport with a Galderma. You've got Xeomin with Merch. You've got Jeuveau. You've got Daxify. At the end of the day, they're all serotypes A. There is a myoblock, which is a serotype B. There's other ones being developed like EF. The serotypes of botulinum toxin can go on and on and on. But, throughout the world, I think Lebo just came out from Korea. And so it really just depends where the manufacturer is. And a lot of times kind of the choice for my clients is I want something that's the most well tested. And between the ones that we offer, those really are. But the real difference is when they're manufactured, some of them can have different molecular weights, so that some might be a little heavier and might really kind of freeze up that wrinkle. Some might be a little lighter to where it might work well on that 20-something-year-old who might want to do a little bit more preventative things. Some have more accessory proteins that might protect the product from being broken down. We're not quite sure because a lot of that's proprietary information. But what we see clinically is, the lighter ones tend to have less of a protein load. So the idea is if someone's starting in their 20s, start them with a lower protein load, so that way they won't develop resistance over time. So it kind of just depends, but they all work pretty well, the ones that the FDA have approved. Where people get into trouble in the United States, and we've already seen several cases of botulinum toxicity in Baton Rouge at the hospital here, is people are importing them, and they're getting them. I don't know that they're getting them on the black market on purpose, but they get an email and they click buy and they get it in. There's counterfeit toxins being sent to people that it looks like the real thing, but there's certain things you can see. If there's a hologram, if there's you have to have certain logos on the cap and on the bottom, etc. So when you get like a raw botulinum, if it's not cut right with enough water, you can actually give someone, thousands of times the recommended dose, and they go into respiratory arrest. And
so they're selling like, I guess, self-usable products or something? Self-injectable products?
People are buying their own injectables and trying to inject themselves. And it is a little bit of the Wild West with the accessibility to the global market that you really don't know what you're getting. So my recommendation is don't buy it yourself. Hire a professional to inject it for you.
All right, let me go take it out of my Amazon cart
yeah,
here
just
real
FYI,
quick.
don't buy it on Amazon. There's a lot of better things on Amazon than that.
Yeah. So, and then you've done so much of all of this that you're doing on the coaching side of things. You're going and teach people. How did you get to the point where you're able to be approved to actually go and train people? I'm assuming there's some form of certification or some form of hierarchy of, hey, you've done this so many times.
Yes.
Go ahead and show people how to do it.
Yes. So that was in 2007, and that was with Allergan. At that point, I was part of their first class of, Allergan trainers. Now we're Allergan Medical Institute, so we're AMI trainers. But realistically, they just looked at the volume of my business that I bought from them, and then corroborated with their people on the ground here in Baton Rouge, and they kind of validated, like, yeah, no, she knows what she's doing. This is her additional trainings and certifications, if you will. And then it was kind of see one, do one, just go for it, which was kind of nerve-wracking. I think my first class was like 20 physicians.
Oh my!
And I was nervous because not being a physician and being a PA, you're kind of like, oh gosh, but my person who was helping me said, just remember, you know more than they do about this. I was like, you're right, I do. So that made it feel better.
Yeah, they're paying you to learn from you.
Yes.
So clearly you've got something worth teaching.
Yeah, and they still practice now, and I see them, and it was really fun. I was at a meeting in New Orleans, I don't know, at the end of last summer, and a young lady walked up. She goes, hey, do you remember me? And I did. I just couldn't place her name or where she practiced. She goes, you did my first training, and now I'm doing X, Y, Z. And I was like, that is awesome. So it was really kind of fun to see her later and being successful at what she wanted to do.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So you said your first class was a class of 20.
Yeah.
How many would you say roughly you've actually taught?
Trained
over the course of your years?
I would probably say anywhere between, 300-ish to, I don't even know. Because sometimes I teach to large groups where there's a few hundred people, but it's not like a true training. So I would say a few hundred people, like hands-on, here's what I've learned, and they take it to their own practice versus them coming as a group of 250 people to hear me lecture.
Yeah.
So I would say that. Now, if you include the lecture part of it, sure, maybe 1,000 or
That's
so.
incredible.
Oh.
So you talked a little bit earlier about kind of the Botox parties that people will throw in and around town or whatnot. What are some do's and don'ts, and what are some areas of concern that you see with those?
So we can give great health care at home. There is no reason that people necessarily have to go somewhere to get some, a health care, either health care or anything like that. I mean, that's been around forever. But I would say the biggest don'ts is don't drink a lot. Make sure the person who's injecting is credentialed, and usually whoever's hosting would be able to tell you that, and maybe it's their husband, who knows, so they might do that at home. And just understand what product you're getting and how much you're paying for it, because a lot of times it's enticed because it's cheap. It's $10 a unit, and they might just say Botox, but it's not really Botox. It might be one of the other neurotoxins, which are also fine too. It's just ask what you're getting, know what, how much was used, and know where you can find that provider. I think what I get on the back end is that sometimes we'll have to fix certain things because someone went to a friend of a friend or went with the friend, and then they didn't know who the injector was, and they were embarrassed to ask the person. So now I'm fixing not really a problem that's unfixable. It's not that big of a deal. But if they just knew where their injector worked daily, then they could actually go back to that person and have it done. So that would be the only thing too, is if you're going to go to one, just say, hey, where's your daily location in case I do need a follow-up and something's wrong.
So you say, like, know what you're getting, ask where it's from and all this and that. You could line up all the different products in front of me, and I'd have no idea which one is which. So,
Right.
like, what are some signs or something people can look at if they go to one of these things, they get invited or go with a friend of a friend, and if they say, hey, what are you using? They go, you're using X, Y, Z. And if it's just okay, cool, great, or, like, if they grab it, like, what are they supposed to look for in those?
The main thing is it FDA approved?
Okay.
If it is FDA approved and they bought it from a United States, company, then they should be perfectly fine. And if they're too nervous to ask, maybe they could ask the host to ask, because if someone is uncomfortable giving as an injector to give that answer, then there's something wrong and you shouldn't get injected.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out, Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you.
So,
that would be the only thing to ask.
So as injectors or hosts of these particular events, what can be something done on the front end to kind of calm people's nerves?
Yeah. Well, the interesting and fun thing about it is girls always want to get together. And so the draw is the host gets to host an event, and it's fun. And they'll usually ask their injector or someone who does this at-home event. And all they need to do is say, hey, look, if you could send me your bio so I could let my friends know a little bit about you, and, where you're practicing, if you are practicing elsewhere, or how they can get in touch with you if they need a touch-up, and which products are we going to offer? Are those FDA approved? That would be, is that what you mean?
That's exactly what I mean. Like, even like almost giving them on the invitation, hey, here's the bio or a link to the bio of the person doing it. Here's the offerings for the evening,
These are the products.
Pick and choose what you're going to have. So.
It's not vague. And a lot of times, I say that, but most patients are like, I don't know, I guess I need some filler here and soften these lines here. But I think it's absolutely okay to say, what brands am I getting? How will I know?
Well, and then also, like, what type of education are y'all doing on the front end, or are you doing in the marketing piece of letting people know, hey, here's some areas that can be improved through these products?
Right. Well, we started, I remember it's like a sushi menu. You know, we had like pictures of like the left eye crow's feet.
Yeah, you got some on your site.
Yeah. It's one of those where they could just kind of say, oh, yeah, that bothers me. Because no one's going to say, I need a blepharoplasty, please. But they're going to say, I need my lower eyelids done. And they might ask for certain brands. Or like you said, I kept saying Botox, but there's other ones. Sometimes it's like Coca-Cola, but you're really talking about Pepsi or, you know, is it like a certain root beer? Is it Pabst? No, that's a beer.
Or Barks.
Barks.
Barks or a pub or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So, I mean, it's, you know, I think more so from our end, we really try to go solution or problem solution marketing versus the true, you know, we'll have a deep plane rhytidectomy when blah, blah, blah. You're going to get a large facelift.
Yeah. They're not going to know all those technical terms.
No.
So what's on the horizon for you?
Gosh, you know, as we've redone our website and as we've regrouped with our aesthetic platform, and now that I think the aesthetics market is somewhat settled, you know, at post-COVID, it was wild. It was booming. I think the whole market was up like 200%. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild. And we saw a big pullback in late 2023. We always feel it a little bit later because we're a more established practice, but usually the younger practices will feel that really fast. And so I think now that we're starting to go back to some of our normal growth patterns, it's really just dialing back into our practice, our providers, making sure they have all the resources they need, doing the best job that we can, looking at some of the newer service lines that are being offered. We just added Moxie, which is a thulium type laser, which all that means is it's non-ablative and it's traveling at a deeper level than just the superficial part. And so that's something we'd never had before. So we just added that on. So I think we're trying to really investigate some of the newer options for our clients that makes sense. There's so many shiny objects out there. You can't buy everything. Right. So I typically will tend to be somewhat in the middle of the road adopter. I'm not super early, but, you know, kind of finding those right things and then kind of doing my thing over the next 15 years.
I love it. Yeah. Have you shifted now looking at the latter 20-25 year plan?
Yes. Now I have to write it and put it on paper because I do. I have this one document. It's like 30 pages long, and it was a bullet point list that we created in the 90s, like in 2000 or something, 99, 2000. I was still a PA student, and so we typed it up and printed it out. And so I still have that printed list, and I've checked off every bullet point on there.
30-page bullet point list?
It's got to be it's this thick.
That's so many bullet points.
I know. There's so many bullet points. And it was little things like make a customer referral program. So we have a card, and it's probably on our website, referrals. I mean, it was anything you could imagine that you would maybe need or done, it's done. And then I had my other sheet of paper, so now I have to make a third. I keep it, though.
I love it.
I like to look back at it.
Yeah, look back at it, maybe frame it on the wall behind your desk or something.
With my dollar bill.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Say first dollar and first 30-page
right.
plan.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up the show and kind of start getting you out of here, we do have a set list of questions we ask every guest. Uh-huh. So the first one is, what is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Oh, gosh. Jumping jacks. I'm just kidding.
No, that's great.
Trampoline. No, I really can't. I go to F45 and my knees won't let me do it and just hurts your back. So yes, I wish I could jump easily.
I get you. I had anytime I stand up, I hear my knees crack and pop. It's crazy.
Yep.
So what are like 3 lessons you've learned along the way? You know, you grew up in a family of doctors and practitioners. You went and did your own thing, and now you've got this booming business across the states and, you know, internationally recognized. Like, what are 3 lessons you've gathered throughout the process?
I think the one first one, what I've really learned is make sure you know every aspect of your business. Make sure you know how to do every person's job. Obviously, I can't do surgery, but, surround yourself with wonderful people like my partner is. But for the things you can't do. But that has been the best thing. So I've been able to kind of go in and out if I need to answer the phone, if I have to check someone in or out, if I need to operate that laser, if I need to do this. I can do it all to a sense. And that's important. So you have to be able to diversify. So I think one of our biggest bonuses of our business, and especially with us partnering with Dr. Paranak forever ago, we were able to diversify our pie. So, we have a good bit of surgery. We've got a good bit of non-surgery. We've got a good bit of facials and kind of some of those lighter aspect things. We've got a good bit of a retail business because there will be ebbs and flows. And when those happen, it just kind of all works out. And then the last is I have faith. Pray every day. I know that I've got everything I need and I don't need anything more. And it's all going to work out.
There you go.
So
what is something you love about Baton Rouge?
The people. There is no place like home. And I know all of us who kind of, even though I wasn't born here, but raised, I would say born and raised, we're always like, man, it's kind of hot. But then baseball season happens and football season starts. All the good stuff happens. We've got the best food. But I have a lot of clients who I talked to, throughout the years, and they've gone away and they've come back. I'm like, oh, you're back. How was Austin? I'm like, it was great, but you just miss the people. It's not the same. Mm-hmm. People are not the same as our people here. That's
Absolutely
the truth.
Not. Yeah, you go walk down the street here, people will wave and talk to you. You go to walk down the street in Austin, people are like looking, why are you waving at me?
Yeah, you're not going to go work there and get invited to someone's parents' house for their dad's birthday dinner, but you might come start here and get an invitation early.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So what can I do to help you?
Tell everyone to come see us.
That's
Just
easy.
Kidding. Okay,
that's easy.
Good, thanks. Thank you. No, I appreciate being invited, and this is lovely. The studio is awesome.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. I appreciate that. Well, thank you for your time
Of
today.
course.
No, you've got it. You're still working
Still
each
going
and every
back.
day, so I got to get you to your next
Till 5
appointment. So
o'clock.
thank you for your time and for sitting with us. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody else, for watching or listening, whatever platform you're consuming us. We'll be right back here next week.